Hit go live.
Oh,
Hello, everybody. We're here.
hello. I'm glad everybody's here.
Yes. Uh, oh, people are talking about the event that just happened that I don't want to talk about at all. Cool. uh, I guess we can sort of talk about it. I mean, it's a fact. I guess it's like yeah. The guy. I don't want to mention his name. Okay, you know who I'm talking about. He was not allowed to run in the state of Colorado, for which he will obviously appeal, and he has until January 5th for the appeal to complete, unless the courts do something to lengthen that period of time, which I don't legally think they can. Hi, Gick. So,
He informed me that he's just hanging out to listen to us because we're so awesome.
oh, cool. Uh, so yeah, that is a thing that just happened. Um, I don't really want to talk about that at all, but it's a thing, so we may as well just mention it, I guess. Um, so the elephant in the room today is that all the news is bad news. Um,
Wait, I have a good news.
okay.
Ukraine has officially exported 10 million tons of cargo through the corridor.
That's a lot of cargo.
It's a ton of cargo, like a lot. It's great. Really, really great.
Yep. Yep. So that's a lot of cargo. Uh, I mean, honestly,
I
I
was
don't know how to measure cargo. Like, I don't know how much a cargo is. Like, how many ships is that? I think that makes more sense to me. Like, how many ships is it?
Hold on, let me look this up for you.
I can imagine ships better than I can imagine cargo.
Totally.
To be fair, I don't even know how much cargo's on a ship. That's really the problem. That's the issue. I don't know how much cargo's on a ship.
Well, so that's actually our problem this time around too, because they're not publishing data the same way they were before. That's 302 ships as of yesterday. I haven't done today's tracking yet, so I'm a little bit behind. Those ships range from 230 meters long to the shortest ship is like 75 meters. So there's a pretty big range there. But if you consider that like the big Panamaxes are 230 meters long, um, that's a lot of very large ships, like
Yeah,
really big ships.
ships are big. So big. Yep. Um. So that's the good news for today. It's all downhill from here. Sorry. Um. I guess the first thing that I can say is that um we all kind of knew this was going to happen. Um, it's not really a surprise. I mean, it might be a surprise to some people, but it shouldn't have been. When we saw what happened this summer with the offensive, what's happening now is the consequence of an offensive. No matter how successful the offensive was, even if the offensive went exactly to plan and everything went perfectly, and they went all the way to Crimea, this would have happened. This is the consequence. The fact that the offensive was a train wreck doesn't make what's happening now any easier to swallow. Like it kind of feels like a double loss having the offensive completely fail and then this happened. But this would have happened no matter what. No matter how successful the offensive was, this would have happened. So I just want that to be clear. This is the. I think the only way to avoid what's going on right now is to have not had an offensive. And this is why I was always against an offensive. If you go back to all of the streams that we did in March and April, I was saying the entire time, don't do an offensive because there will be consequences for it. And that these are the consequences I wanted to avoid personally. So I just want to get that out of the way. All the people who wanted an offensive just know that these are the consequences of an offensive. No matter how successful, no matter how unsuccessful the offensive was, this would have happened as a consequence. So let's get into it. Around Sinkivka, the Russians have had some minor successes. They're not super, but they're a little. They've kind of gotten into this little forest here, which it's not too big. They've kind of leveled these houses. Ukraine was in these houses, fighting out of them, like literally using the houses as their defensive position, which you don't always see, to be honest. But in this case, that was what happened. And Russia has moved up and taken these little forest here. So that's kind of the news around Sinkivka. Russia is kind of Ukraine has been shelling kind of this part of the forest right here, which is kind of interesting. But that's not super important. So that's what's going on around Sinkivka. I don't really have any news in this Svatova area, or Novoselivska, or Novoyahirivka, or really any of these areas. Russia is attacking towards Terny, but I don't know of any significant progress. In Bilohorivka, I don't know of any changes. I got into this like meta argument the other day. That was kind of amusing to me. Where anyway, it was about this location right here, and the guy told me that that I don't know enough about mapping to talk, and that Ukraine actually just captured this position. I'm like, bruh, we have video from like September of Ukraine in this position, but whatever. It was a weird argument. But anyways, the getting on down towards Spirna and Vim. I never pronounce this. I need to read it in the Ukrainian. Vyimka? Is that how you pronounce it? Vyimka. Is that it? Anyway, Russia is attacking in this general direction. Out of Berestova. We had a whole bunch of footage today of destroyed BMP-1. Destroyed. I think this was a BMP-2. It may have been a BMP-2M. I'm not sure. It was kind of hard to tell. And then there was a T-64BV, which I believe is a Russian T-64BV, although it may have been Ukrainian. It's hard to tell. I think it was Russian though. And yeah, so all this kind of happening in this big old field right here. That's just something to keep in mind. Vyimka, this is an incredibly important town to Ukraine. It really, okay, so I just want to apologize right now. My mouse is acting up, and whenever it just zooms in and out at random, and I can't stop it, and it's been driving me crazy all day. So I'm just, as it happens during the stream, I apologize. I'm sorry. It is also bothering me. So, anyways, this town is of incredible significance to the defense of Siversk. Russia has been trying to capture it for basically ever since they captured Lysychansk, and they've not been able to. But they're trying to move towards it. They're obviously they're nowhere. I did not do that, by the way. They're nowhere close to it, but they're trying. It's going to be really hard for them to get there. And you see that they've been slowly moving up from Bilohorivka, slowly moving up. They're trying to get there eventually, but keep in mind they took them a year to go, or almost a year. It's like 10, 11 months to go from here to there. And if it takes another 10 or 11 months, maybe in 2 years they'll get there. You know what I mean? So, who knows? My mouse does not have batteries. It is hardwired, so I cannot change the batteries. I could like tape batteries to it, but I don't know if that'll do anything.
That's amazing.
Um. Okay, so now we get to Bakhmut. Bakhmut is a train wreck. It's really bad. So, where to start? I mean, I don't even know what to say. If you've seen the videos of what happened in the dachas of Bakhmut, then you know, you know how much of a train wreck this was. But and I can't show the video, but the videos were horrific. The videos show what I would describe as a massacre. Other people say that I'm exaggerating, but I don't think I am. I think it was a massacre. Um, it was really bad. like uh it was bad to the point where there may be criminal inquiries. That's how bad it was. And I don't mean criminal as in looking into Russians. I mean criminal as in looking into the Ukrainian commanders. That's how bad it was. It was a complete train wreck. And the area that I'm talking about were these dachas, uh, which is just outside of Bakhmut. Um, so these little houses right here. In particular, this rear, this this little tree that you might not be able to see very well. I'll turn off this. This little tree was kind of the rearmost defensive position for this area, and in the video you see a few Russians kind of coming towards the tree from the north, and all the Ukrainians in it surrendering. You see a bunch of combat in these dachas, kind of ranging from like back here all the way up to the front, of a lot of very not good things happening. Uh, you see a lot of people who were on their own in ways that are hard to understand. You when you watch it, you feel that something has likely gone wrong for this to have even happened. Especially the parts where you see Russians walking across wide open areas, just walking, um, as if they had no fear at all. It's just the whole situation here was not good, very bad. I'm sorry. Anyway, as far as I can tell, Ukraine kind of controls this building, and that's it. Maybe parts of this tree line, but other than that, Russia has basically captured this whole dacha area, which would be this would effectively mean that Russia has captured Bakhmut. So congratulations to them for that. You finally got it. They declared it captured a while ago, but they finally got around to it. Anyways, if I just go back in time a few days, you can see kind of just what's been going on. So this is how it was like a few days ago. So this was a week ago or whatever, 8 days ago, and you see how Russia has progressed in taking many different locations. This whole area around Kromove has been lost, basically. Um, Ukraine's been pushed all the way away from this reservoir. Um, the area of this racing track has effectively been lost. The southern part may be contested, but this northern part is effectively captured if it hasn't been captured already. The bend in this road has been abandoned by Ukraine. Keep in mind that this tree line was a very significant defensive position. It's been abandoned. It may be captured. I'm not sure. This tree line's been abandoned. This was again another significant defensive position. We have video of Ukrainians basically fleeing this area and getting shelled as they were fleeing. So this train track area, this rail, Ukraine has basically withdrawn from this whole forested area, and they're pulling backwards. The area kind of immediately north of Bodanivka has been completely abandoned, and it may be captured entirely. It's possible that Russia controls this entire tree line, and they may control this tree line as well. It's hard to It's really hard to tell. I've literally mapped this as Russian controlled and then deleted it and then mapped it again, deleted it and mapped it again so many times that I'm really not sure. This forest may be entirely captured. So this entire area north of the entire Bakhmut area it's just a train wreck. It's a the line is it's not collapsing. Like collapsing is the wrong word. It's falling back very quickly.
So, crap. Is this like a lack of ammo thing, or is there more going on than just that?
Well, the lack of ammo certainly isn't helping. Ukraine is incredibly outnumbered. That's one problem. They're heavily outnumbered against an opponent that doesn't care about casualties, and they don't have enough ammo. If Ukraine had the ammo, this wouldn't be happening. This can only happen because they don't have ammo. Russia's numbers alone cannot achieve what's going on. It's the lack of ammo, really. If yeah, it's the lack of ammo plus the outnumbering, because like obviously if the forces were 1-to-1 and Russia didn't outnumber them, even if they were like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 or even maybe even 4-to-1, Ukraine could probably defend it. But they're not. It's more like 7 or 10-to-1. They're really badly outnumbered, and they don't have the ammo to make up for it. If you had the ammo, it wouldn't matter how outnumbered they are because there's only so many paths that Russia can move through. They move in these big groups. They're willing to accept a ton of casualties, but if you had the mortars, you could repel these attacks. You could repel these if you had the mortars, but they don't. You see Russians walking through fields, just walking through them without any fear. When they do that, they should be getting hit by mortars. They should have fear, but they don't. They know that Ukraine doesn't have the ammo. I think that's really the issue.
Possibly a stupid question or one you don't know the answer to, but how are they walking through fields that I presume should be mined?
Oh yeah, those fields aren't. Well, actually, we know that those fields are mined, but it's sparsely mined, and yeah, it's just they're very sparsely mined, and like these fields were fields that like Ukraine was moving through, so you know they're like chasing Ukrainian infantry basically. Although we do know that the fields were mined because the Ukrainian infantry stepped on mines and hurt and killed themselves basically. Thank you, Michael Barnett. Was Bakhmut due to lack of artillery ammo? Yes. I think more specifically lack of mortar ammo. I mean, obviously, artillery also hurts, but they do have some artillery ammo. Ukraine does they do counter battery fire. It seems that they spend a lot of their artillery ammo shooting Russian artillery, which is good. I mean, that's kind of like what artillery's for. It's like what they're like the artillery's doing their job. They just don't have mortars. Like they don't have the ammo for artillery to do everything. That's really the key. It's just there's so many targets. There's so many. Like, okay, so you need somebody to do counter battery fire. You need somebody to shoot at the infantry. You need somebody to shoot at the tanks. You need somebody to shoot at like the ammo caches and whatever else. Like there's so many different targets and they don't have the ammo to do everything. Like if and this is like one of the reasons why mortars are so important, because mortars can't do everything. Like you're not going to use a mortar for counter battery fire, which means that the mortar is limited to what you actually need it to do, which is protect the infantry. So that's why like I'm so interested in mortars, because they're so good at defending land. They're so good at supporting infantry. The infantry are who need support. Like the artillery can figure it out; they'll be fine. But the infantry, they need support. And Ukraine doesn't have enough armor. They don't have enough tanks. They don't have enough infantry fighting vehicles, which means that their infantry don't have enough firepower. And the mortars are realistically the only firepower you can give them. You can also give them like ATGMs, which are nice too. And you can give them drones, but there's not enough drones either. And drones can't really replace mortars anyway. Although drones are great, but they can't replace mortars. Like mortars are a very like kind of special niche of weapon that like nothing else does. That they're so incredibly important.
I thought last week was a doom stream. I think we might have surpassed it now.
I'm just talking about the news. We didn't even get the Klashivka yet.
Oh. Um, I think I'm remembering this right, but can you confirm for me that second racetrack, that one's the one that's kind of up on a plateau, is that right?
No. No.
Oh.
This one, okay, so the racetracks are in the low ground, basically, and the ground around them is high ground. Like this racetrack, this forest, like this tree line, is the high ground, and the racetrack is in like a bowl, you know? And the same is true here, more or less. So the high ground here is like this road, and there's like this curve here. You see this curve? That's the high
Yeah,
ground, and then the racetrack is in a bowl. So
I definitely
the
remember
bowl
that.
the bowl faces east.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the bowl, you can see Bakhmut. Is it like this is
Mm.
like this is the low ground? Obviously, it's water. So
Yeah.
so the bowl is like kind of like that. But yeah, the racetrack is in low ground. Yeah, and even more. So like the bowl or this low ground, I don't know, whatever. Like the high ground is like this line here, like that. That's like these trees kind of trace the high ground, and then everything inside is the low ground. Yeah, yeah, and the issue is not mortar tubes. Ukraine has tons of mortar tubes. They're fine on mortar tubes. They just need ammo. They need like they need like a minimum of 1 million rounds a month, and realistically 5 to 10 million a month is what they need. Um, yeah. So I think when I did the math, I believe 1 million rounds a month is 20 rounds per mortar tube per day, which is not that many. 20 rounds in the mortar is not that many, especially because like you might be thinking, oh, like 120 millimeters, that's a decent amount of ammo. We're not only talking about 120 millimeters, we're also talking about 40 and 60 millimeter mortars, okay? So like 20 60 millimeter mortars is like nothing. So let's just keep that in mind. We're talking about all mortars. All mortars. So like a million a month is really the bare minimum that they need. And they more realistically need 5 to 10 million. So that would be um yeah, it'd be a decent amount of shells per day. Like 5 million would be what? Like 100 shells per day. Or just getting more tubes or whatever, you know.
So just having no understanding really at all of how to fire a mortar and what goes into it, it still seems to me that like if you really wanted to and you were a very practiced mortar unit, um, you could probably fire off 20 rounds in like 20 minutes fairly easily.
You could probably do it in like a minute and a half. It just
Yeah,
goes dunk dunk.
I figured me was like way overestimating, but I was trying to be generous. Okay.
Yeah, and it depends on the type of mortar. Like like a 60 millimeter mortar, you shoot them so fast. Like you just put them in, they're just like dunk 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 dunk. It's like that. It's like they're the bigger mortars, like a 120. It's a little bit slower. They're big and hefty. They're big boys. And keep in mind that a mortar has as much explosive filler and fragmentation as an artillery shell that's one size bigger. So a like 120 millimeter mortar has the explosive power of like a 155 artillery shell. Like an 80 millimeter mortar, like an 81 or 82, whatever 80 you like. They're about equal to like a 105 millimeter artillery shell. So they have the lethality of like one size bigger in artillery. They're also much easier to make, to manufacture. Like 60 millimeter mortars are cast, and you can cast shells so quickly. Like they're not forged like an artillery shell is forged with like hammers, whereas the mortar, like a 60 millimeter mortar, is a cast, and the fins are made through extrusion. So it's like you just like extrude the the little piece of metal and then chop it with like a knife into the size you need, and then like I think you stamp it and then like weld it on or whatever. It's a really fast process, and the modern manufacturing does not require even humans to make the shells. Like it's done by a computer.
Who makes most of the mortar rounds?
I'm not sure, to be honest. There's very little data on who makes mortar rounds. It's very secret. There's a lot more data on artillery, but mortars appears like no one talks about it. It's like very hush hush. I don't know why. Anyways, oop, my map is all messed up. There's a blue where it's not supposed to be. Anyways, Klashivka is kind of a train wreck. Uh, Yeah, I'm getting messages from people saying I'm exaggerating what happened in those dodges. I don't think I'm exaggerating. Anyway,
Yeah.
I knew I was gonna get messages, but whatever. The area around Klashivka is really bad. To be honest, it's really bad. Um, so Russia has captured a large portion of the trenches around the north of Klashivka. They've not captured the primary trench system yet, from what I understand, unless like there's new things I haven't seen. But we have video of Russians in this part of this trench right here. So they crossed the road to get into this trench. Um, this video, this video is so uninteresting to watch. And yeah, anyway, this this video is like it's like 3 minutes long, and in the 3 minute long video, these two guys they walk from right here to right there in 3 minutes. They like move so slowly that the first time I watched it, I didn't even see them moving. It was like you know how like stick insects they move so slowly you can't see them, or at least like a bird can't. That's how these Russians were.
Uh, I will point out that stick insects can move very fast because I've held them and they're awesome and I really love them. But I get your point.
Yeah, they like move like a millimeter forward and then like a little bit backwards, so it makes it look like the wind is blowing.
It's true. They're the coolest. I highly appreciate stick insects. That is crazy slow though, and that would be very frustrating to watch for 3 minutes and have absolutely nothing
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I was expecting anything to happen, and I had to watch it a second time of nothing happening just to understand what happened. Anyways, so we know Russians were in this trench. We know that they've basically gotten to this road, that they're in this forest line, that they've captured these back trenches, and they're getting really close. I mean, if they capture this main trench system right here, then Klashivka is lost, basically. Um, there have been like constant rumors of Ukraine going to abandon the town of Klashivka. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I mean, it's really hard to imagine if they lose this trench system, whether they'll try to hold Klashivka. Simultaneously and awkwardly, by the way, there are a lot of reports that Ukraine has advanced around Andriivka in the past like day, which is weird and awkward considering what's going on in Klashivka or north of Klashivka. So yeah, and there have been a pretty minor advance near Kurdyumivka. We had got this video of Ukrainian drone attacking this little building here, which I kind of thought maybe recon. I marked it as all contested. I thought maybe this was Russian recon, and then we got clarification that Russia has gotten to this point, but that building is contested. So yeah, it basically just we got clarification that Kurdyumivka had parts of it were contested for a while. I do think Ukraine was occasionally attacking the town. If not, then at least Russia was not really manning these forward positions, I don't think. I think it was kind of a no man's land. And now Russia has retaken those positions. So this is kind of the whole Bakhmut area. Russia is advancing everywhere. I'm not sure what Ukraine is going to do. To be honest, that's not being like I'm not saying that like the whole line is going to collapse. That's not what I mean. I just mean I don't know what Ukraine's plan is. Like I don't know if their plan is to counterattack or to like hold on to every inch of land, or if they're going to withdraw to another defensive line. Like I don't know what their plan is. So I hope they have a plan. I'd like to think they do, but I just don't know what it is. So yeah. Now's when I'd like to do an interlude of different news, but I kind of don't want to because the different news is also bad. Uh, there was a comment
And
today from I think Kirby or whatever. I don't know. He was like yellow and like sucking up people like it was a vacuum or something. And he said that, or pink. I mean, he and he said that there's no magic pot of money to support Ukraine without congressional action or something like that. And there was a Ukrainian response to this today, which I found kind of funny and true. That they said there is not a magic pot of men who can fight off the barbarians either. So that's just a thing I wanted to bring up. And people are like gifting out like memberships. Thank you to everyone who's gifting out memberships. Where are the infantry coming from for Russia, you mean? They've been building up these reserves all year. They spent like 11 months building a reserve of infantry. A lot of people were talking about this reserve, like Tataragami. He wrote about this a whole bunch. That Russia had tons of reserves. Ukraine was openly worried about it. Like not openly as in they were like doing press reports or whatever, press releases, but openly in the sense that officers would occasionally talk about it. Like Artie Green would occasionally talk about it, and like Tataragami, he's a reserve officer, I believe. I believe he was a tank commander or something. But he was talking about it too, and so there was this kind of open worry about the um this reserve of Russian forces and what they would be used for. I think the hope that many in the West had, and I think this hope was completely misplaced, was that Russia would burn those reserves defending the South. And I think a lot of people got very into that idea that whenever Russia moved more forces towards like Rabatina, people would say, "Oh, those are their reserves. We're burning through the reserves. Soon Russia will have nothing and it'll collapse." No, that wasn't it. The reserves that Russia built were never used in the defense down there, so those were completely separate forces. So yeah, and I do think there was also probably to a certain extent um, an underestimation of how many reserves they had, or maybe not underestimating how many they had, but underestimating how many were combat capable. Maybe that was more accurate. So where did they come from? Their reserves were back here. They're like in the rear of Luhansk. I have mapped some of their stuff back there at some point. I think there might be in notable events. Maybe no. Uh, maybe no. But I did at one point. I did map um where these places are, but they're all basically back here. Like some of these camps are maybe 5 kilometers from Russia. Like they put them like just inside Ukraine. I honestly think that Russia just wants their soldiers out of Russia. Like I really get that sense because like for a while they're sending them to Belarus, and now they send them to like Luhansk. I think they just don't want them in Russia, causing problems basically. Like doing like imagine having a bunch of upset, angry young people all in one place. Not good. You're gonna get a lot of drunkenness, etc., that you don't want to deal with. might want to make it someone else's problem. You know what I mean? So a lot of them are back here. That's where the infantry is coming from, basically. And they've been pushing up all over the place. Mhm. Ah, yeah. Getting down towards Avdiivka. There haven't been that many significant changes to the north of Avdiivka. Very few. There was a Ukrainian counterattack where they cleared out this part of this like little railway thing here. I don't know what to call it. It's like anyway, they cleared out that little railway thing. They didn't capture it. They just went in and cleared it and left again. Um, Russia is attacking step of it. And yeah, that's pretty much all for the northern part. Everything else is more or less the same. They've been, pushing through this southern part of Avdiivka, moving towards the residential area, but there's no changes that I know of. The bigger changes came um, kind of south. I'm not so sure these are recent changes so much as just the map catching up. But yeah, this is more or less what's going on. So Russia has been moving. Okay, so they tried attacking the southern part of Pervomaisky, all throughout this whole southern part, and it all failed. Then they tried moving through like around this pond and attacking kind of this part of Pervomaisky, and that failed. And now they're like, okay, what if we go around this pond and that's working better? This whole area was a no man's land. Like all the buildings are destroyed, and it was pretty heavily mined. And whenever Russia kind of pushed vehicles through, they would lose them to mines. But I guess they either crashed into all the mines or they got around to clearing them or something. So they've now captured this whole area, which is really just a pile of rocks, basically. And they've been trying to kind of break into the northern part of Pervomaisky, but they haven't really entered the main part of town yet. Um, North of Vodiana, they've captured these tree lines here. They're trying to move up towards Tonenka, but they have not gotten there yet. And to the kind of north of Opitna, they've taken over this kind of lowland area here that Ukraine, up until pretty recently, they have been pushing infantry through this kind of lowland to kind of attack here, and Russia has captured it. Uh, there were actually a very large number of videos coming out from here, but they're all extremely difficult to geolocate, and they're all published by the same channel, and it's the channel that Geek hates geolocating. Don't you, Geek? You hate them. Anyways, Russia's captured that now. So none of this is super important. Like this whole Russia's not gotten like these changes aren't a threat. Basically, there's just kind of mild changes. And then Novomikhailivka. Um, this is not good. Not good. Uh, I wonder if I can do this. Yes, I can. Okay, so I'll just turn all this off for the moment. So we'll zoom out a little bit. So this is the terrain map, and you can see from here. It's kind of subtle, but I'm sorry. Um, there's a high ground, so the yellow and white are high ground, and the red is kind of low ground. Um, I think. Or am I backwards? I know the white's high ground. I'm confused. Anyways, the point is that Russia is trying to move across this high ground here. They're trying to move across the high ground as opposed to up the high ground. So for a long time, Russia had been trying to attack Vuhledar, and in order to get to Vuhledar, they had to fight uphill because Vuhledar is on the high ground. and Pavlivka and Mikilska are low ground. And
The yellow must be low ground because all the water is yellow.
oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so also there's more high ground near Vodiana, so Vodiana is high ground. So Voldar's high ground, Vodiana's high ground, and Pobieda's high ground. And there's also high ground that kind of moves this way, and through Soladka. Okay, there's high ground that moves this way, like that. So there's kind of these striated high grounds. So it's kind of like high ground, high ground, low ground, like this. And Ukraine's defenses are obviously much stronger if Russia attacks from the south, and they're weaker if Russia attacks from the east. This is why Russia has been trying to attack from the east for a very, very long time. Um, this area around Salatka is very heavily mined, and it has a lot of defenses along these tree lines, etc. And all of these very giant, wide open fields are mined. It's the same issue that Ukraine had around like Rabatana, and even more so around Kopani, where it's very heavily mined in the fields and around the tree lines, and occasionally these trenches into the forests. It's the same thing. So you can imagine this whole area is pretty much the same as Ukraine had to deal with attacking south. The same sort of terrain. Then to the immediately to the east of Novomikhailivka, there were minefields here, but Russia has destroyed them all slowly over a very long period of time, using the tried and true strategy of just driving a tank till you hit a mine, and then when the tank blows up, you drive another tank until you hit a mine. It's there's lots of ways to clear a minefield. Let's just put it that way. So they've been using that drive into the minefield strategy to kind of clear this area, and now they are attacking. So the whole idea here is to take Novomikhailivka and Konstantinivka, Konstantinivka, and then break the highway between Marinka, which Russia has basically captured. But anyways, I guess more Pobieda. So break the highway from Pobieda to Volodar. And we've talked about this a whole bunch, and you could think of it as kind of going against the grain. The grain is strong, and going against it is weak. You can split wood easier when you. Anyway, you know what I mean. Or going with the grain, I guess. Whatever, you know what I mean. What's the analogy? Whatever. Yeah, that's the whole thing I wanted to mention briefly.
It's splitting wood versus chopping wood. So when you're
Yeah.
splitting wood, you go with the grain. When you're chopping a tree down, you're going against the grain. Chopping a tree down is way harder than splitting wood.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Anyway, so that's what Novomikhailivka is, and then Paraskovivka, and then Konstantinivka, and yeah, that's what they want to do. That's the whole point here. So they've gotten to the south of Novomikhailivka. They may have captured these two kind of things. I don't even know. I think this is a graveyard, and I don't know what this is. Literally no idea. They may have captured both of those. This kind of middle part, there are rumors that Ukraine did a counterattack. I'm not entirely sure that's true. Russia may have captured all three of these little pieces here. And they are pushing in on the east, and it's all very bad. I don't know if Ukraine can hold this town, to be honest. You can see a possibility of Ukraine holding it, but it would require Ukraine kind of counterattacking, pushing Russia back. Like it's just like looming in and out on its own. Anyway, they would have to counterattack to push Russia out of these kind of three little thingies here. Whether Ukraine controls them, I don't think it really matters, but they can't have Russia control them. So if Ukraine can kind of maintain a buffer around the town, it's possible that they could stabilize the line. I just don't know how likely that is. Russia will continue trying to push north through the push through these northern fields, which is this is really the most defended area that's remaining that Ukraine has. So this northern part is very well defended. Last time I talked about how good this position is. I believe it is called Menagerie. I think that's the name of this position. If I remember right. I think it's called Menagerie, and that's a very good defensive position. And then there's a few more here that I don't know the names of. So this kind of whole northern part is pretty well defended. Uh, there were really well defended southern parts, but Ukraine lost them all. So uh, you could see a possibility of Ukraine holding the town if they can stabilize it, but stabilizing it would require counterattacks, which I don't know if Ukraine can do. I don't know if they have the strength to do it, but it's possible.
Weird question. Who names these things?
I think
And
the
how
the
did
soldiers.
Menagerie get it? Okay. Do we know how Menagerie got its name?
I have no idea. I've just
Dang it.
I've just heard it called Menagerie so many times. I don't even remember who said it first. I've just heard it called Menagerie a lot of times. They always say at defensive position Menagerie, and then they post a video, and then we geolocate the video, and it's right there. And that's happened like 5 times. And whenever I read today, Ukraine defended an assault on Menagerie, so right there. I think this is Menagerie. I might be wrong. This might be Menagerie. Can't remember. I think it's this one though. One of these two is Menagerie. I think it's that one.
The little group of buildings on the left-hand side, you were talking about the cemetery versus the group of buildings. The group of buildings looks like a farm to me.
Okay. Farm.
Like a hog farm or a chicken farm, one of the two.
Oh, I read something that made me laugh. Um, there's this area right here. I believe is a pig farm. This is north of Marinka. I believe this is a pig farm. Today, I was reading a Russian report from here today, and they called it the furry convention. Yeah. Oh,
That's amazing.
they called this the furry convention right there. Yeah, and it wasn't as a joke either. They were like listing like the places that they attacked. So they're like, we attacked here, we attacked there, we attacked the furry convention. I was like, wait, what?
That's so great. Only Russian soldiers could come up with that as a name for a position. But anyways.
So, anyways, I have no real news from this kind of southern area, but there was Russian shelling right here, which was interesting because we know that Russia is attacking Staromayorska, and we do know that Russia. Now it's just zooming in and out and so on. Anyway, they've been attacking down this tree line and making steady progress. So them shelling right there was interesting. Not super important, but just kind of interesting. And one thing I should say is, oh god, this area north of Pryutny, in this forested area, there's been a lot of like Russian droning, which is interesting. It's interesting because we have video of Russians capturing this position right here. but then they're really super heavily droning, like right here. So that's just something to keep in mind. And yeah, what is there? I can't remember what was here the last stream. So when was the last stream? It was the 15th. So what was the difference between now and the 15th? Oh yeah. This whole area north of Verbova was confirmed captured. So like last time I had only drawn this much, but this whole area was confirmed captured by Russians. And there was a incredibly frustrating video from this area. Why is this not drawn right? Anyway, there's an incredibly frustrating video from uh, oh, oh right here. This video it made me so mad. Basically, what happened is that this position was captured either that day or the day before. And these Ukrainians, I think there are three of them, they were walking to the position. And they very clearly thought the position was held by Ukraine. They were they weren't attacking, they were just walking. And like at the last second, the Russian popped out and started shooting them all. And one of them died. And the other two ran away. And it just makes me so angry. You have to communicate. You have to communicate. You have to, like, if you lose a position, tell your adjacent units, hey, by the way, we lost the position, you know? Anyways, that video made me really angry. And yeah, there've been a lot of drone attacks around Urabatana too, which I have not been able to precisely geolocate, but they're all here-ish, like around this forest line, and kind of over here and there, just all around. Yeah, and then there's this video, which I don't know if this video was new or old, because I kind of think it's old, because I really think Russia did capture this position, but it was attacking the Ukrainians there, which was weird. Anyways, that's more or less all the news I got. There's one other location to talk about, but I don't really have news from here. I just Russia's been doing a lot of counterattacks around Krinky. They claim that they've been recapturing everything. I mean, it might be true. I haven't seen proof of it. Um, there are infantry moving around, but infantry doesn't moving around doesn't necessarily mean that they control it. Anyways, maybe they'll show proof of control at some point. I will consider it not controlled anymore when they stop dropping like 500 kilogram bombs on it. You know what I mean? But until then, yeah, I just don't. I have trouble considering like, oh, we captured this city block and then we dropped 50 bombs on it. It doesn't strike me as captured when you do that. But yeah, this drone footage is all geolocated, so you can kind of make of that what you will. They're kind of in the areas that I consider the gray zone anyway, although maybe some people would consider it captured. I know that there are a lot of Russians who believe if there is a single Russian in a location, even if he's not alive, that means it's captured. So
Even if he's not alive.
yeah, but you don't need to be alive to capture something. You just need to be there, right?
When I die, can somebody take my body around and just capture a whole bunch of extra things? I feel like that'd be kind of cool to do, like post-mortem.
Yeah, you could do that. So that's kind of all the news I got. That's kind of it.
That's a lot of news.
It's all bad. I'm sorry. People think I'm dooming. I'm like I don't. I'm just trying to tell you what happened.
Yeah,
The
you were decidedly not dooming today, and it's just unfortunate, really crappy news. And more importantly, it's stuff that you've been warning about for a really long time and saying that we needed to fix, and nobody's fixing it. And it's starting to show results of what happens when you don't fix it.
yeah, that's to me the most frustrating part. Everything that's happening was easily predictable a very long time ago. We all knew where Russia would attack. We knew it would be Novomykhailivka. We knew it would be Avdiivka. We knew that they would continue attacking around Bakhmut. Like we knew this. Everybody knew. I was very against an offensive. I was very openly against it. Um, I just thought it was a terrible idea. Yeah. What can you say? Anyways, that's all I got. Uh, Anybody have any questions? I can answer a question or two. I was gonna make a thumbnail today. I didn't have time. I have so many unread messages in Telegram right now, like over 5,000. I don't even know how I'm gonna read them. I'm probably not, to be honest. But um, I was gonna make a thumbnail today, and the thumbnail was gonna be that it's fine house on fire, but with a flork, and and he was gonna be saying it's fine with a thumbs up. Uh, that's what I was gonna do. But I didn't have time
But
to make a flork on house fire thing.
but just generally, we need that thumbnail like to exist. Put it on the things to do list.
That's why the title of the video is it's fine, because I was gonna make the thumbnail, but I just didn't have time.
Okay. Somebody make that thumbnail and send it to Andrew so he can use it on a regular basis. Please and thank you.
Can Ukraine hold most of the front line? Ukraine's not gonna collapse. Like they're not gonna like suddenly lose an incredible amount of land. Like that's it's just frustrating because it's just a lot of these positions that Ukraine is losing are very good defensive positions. That's what's so frustrating. Like if they were just losing a bunch of lands that didn't matter, it would be like whatever, you know? Like I don't care about this part. Like this area near Botanivka, I don't care. Like whatever. It's like kind of this ground near Bakhmut. Don't care. I just don't care. Like it doesn't matter that much. This area around Klashivka, it only matters in the sense that Ukraine wants to hold Klashivka, but even losing Klashivka doesn't really matter. Like if Ukraine gets pushed all the way back to the canal, it's not really a big deal. So like losing this all and losing like Ivanivska, like I wouldn't really care. I don't really care about Bodanivka. Like this section, like if Ukraine loses this, like I just don't care. But losing this area is not making me happy. Like losing this area is really bad. Um, like if Ukraine loses Rabatina, like I'm not gonna lose any sleep over losing all this ground. Like it shows how stupid the offensive was to lose it all. But I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. But losing this section, like losing Vuladar, losing Konstantinivka, losing Novomykhailivka, losing Pobieda, um, this would make me very upset. And I think Ukraine's probably gonna lose it, and it's frustrating because all this land will have to be retaken at some point, and retaking it is going to be difficult because they're easy to defend, and that's the frustrating part. Everything is going to have to be retaken. And that's also what makes it so frustrating for all of the countries to have dragged their feet, because they know all these countries know that they're going to have to fund retaking this ground, and they should know that defending it would be a lot cheaper than retaking it, because defending it you just need ammo. To retake it, you're going to need tanks, you're going to need um, armored vehicles, you're going to need transports, you're going to need tons of infantry. It's going to take a lot of casualties. Retaking it is going to be much more expensive for everybody in every form of currency uh, than defending it would be. Defending it basically is the cheapest. The cheapest thing you can do is defend it. Um, Ukraine is definitely going to try to hold Volodar. Volodar is incredibly, incredibly important for so many reasons. It's a vital importance that Ukraine holds Volodar. Novomikhailivka, um, losing it doesn't immediately threaten Volodar, but what it does is it gets you one step closer. There's still Pereskovivka, which is in its own right reasonably defended. Obviously, it's a teeny tiny itty bitty town, but this whole area around it, like this section, is pretty well defended. And then there's Konstantinivka, which is kind of the last line of defense, really. And then after that, it will break the highway, and you can start moving down the highway. Obviously, all this ground can be defended, but you can start moving down this highway. You can start moving in from Solodka. Although obviously this is hard because it's all mined, but you know when you're doing these kind of pincer things, you might be able to you might draw forces to defend one location, and then they'll allow you to send engineers to clear somewhere else, etc., etc. So breaking this highway and moving on down towards Volodar is very bad for Ukraine. So um, yeah, I have no fear of like Ukraine collapsing or anything. Well, that's the frustration is every time you lose these positions, it just gets more and more expensive to retake them. That's the frustrating part. Yep. If the countries donated everything they donated, but they donated it all in the beginning instead of slowly, I do think this war would be over by now. Like, or at least it'd be so different. It'd be so different. I think the Ukraine probably could have retaken all of Luhansk Oblast, or at least all this part of Luhansk Oblast. Maybe not this part, but I do think they could have retaken all that. I think they could have probably um, maybe not retaken, but at least chipped away a lot around here. Um, I think Russia would probably still control the southern part, but it would be a totally different war. It would be the whole outlook would be different. Like if Ukraine had also captured Luhansk, and they were, anyway, the northern part of Luhansk, and they could threaten to attack Luhansk city. I'll just imagine Russia having to defend this line here. It'd be politically a disaster for them. It'd be so bad. Um, so so yeah, it would be a different war if we gave Ukraine the resources they needed. But we dragged our feet. We waited way too long. Anyways, I think that's the stream for today. I'll be back some other time. I'll probably upload more videos this week, like short ones, like 5-minute ones, maybe. Maybe tomorrow, and then I'll make another stream on Friday, which will be a longer stream like this one. Although this one wasn't that long, it was only like 70 minutes, so that's not bad. Anyway, see you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.